Dumplings. Growing up, my grandmother would make them whenever I visit, especially during Chinese New Year. I gave folding them a go, but the woman was not impressed and often shooed me away. Millennial friends who grew up in the north of China, where wheat is a staple, share this food tradition and fall into two groups. They've either mastered the dumpling fold or are currently resorting to buying frozen ones. And I plan to be part of the former. So I'm turning to my cooking instructor, which is the internet, and I'm thinking with enough practice, I should be able to get it right. I will be first focusing on the folding, but make sure you stay towards the end of the video so you can learn a bit about the filling as well. First, wash your hands, of course. With all of these folds, the first few steps will be putting in the filling. Get half of the outer edge wet, scoop in some filling. It needs to sit in the center. Make sure there's at least 1 cm of skin left around it, and then fold the skin across. The easiest fold, just seal it by pressing together both sides. Another easy-ish fold, do the first few steps up to the point you've folded the skin across. You then want to close the two ends of the dumpling by pinching together both sides of the skin. Then push the two ends towards the center until they touch, and an opening will naturally form in the middle. You'll have 2 loose flaps at the top and bottom. Then grab the top and bottom flaps and press those flaps sticking out into the front and back of the dumpling. Use some pressure and press it closed. Not too hard, right? Next up, we've got the 2 classic folds. Master these and people will think you've been doing this since you were born. You have a half circle with an arc and 2 corners. Hold on to both corners gently. You want to learn how to form 2 U shapes with each corner like this, holding it in place. That's 1 U closer to you, and that's the second U farther from you. The U farther from you, you're going to press it closed. And with the second U, you're going to press it into the dumpling body to seal it. This is the most common one seen in households. Don't start with too much filling. Go up to the point where you have your taco shape. On one side, you're going to pleat the skin onto the other side. Dab a bit of water onto the skin as needed. You're creating a small fold before pressing it down onto the smooth side, thereby creating 2 looks. Smooth, not smooth. Smooth, not smooth. So I wouldn't say this is going super well. There's definitely some pretty unappealing dumplings that I'm folding, but I am picking a few things up as I go. I think the first thing is just the amount of pressure I'm using with my fingers. It's good to use pressure, a lot of pressure, when you are trying to seal the dumpling, but a lot of times when you're folding pleats or you're creating patterns, you kind of want to just be more gentle with it, and that really goes a long way in making the more uniform ones that are more even in its pleats. I would say another thing is that it's important to keep adding water in parts where you're trying to seal the dumplings. And the third thing I would say is that I just need to not put in so much filling. It does lose a bit of volume, the dumplings, but if there's too much filling that you're working with, it is quite hard in the beginning. If you have several fillings, the different folds will help you identify each type. Make it fun. And here's one thing I have to say about the filling. I used eggs and chives seasoned with these condiments. The recipe I used online told me not to cook the chives ahead of time, so I didn't, and the chives shrunk when the dumplings were cooked, and they looked like they weren't fully filled. So I preferred to cook the filling ahead of time so the water properly drains out. I did this with the cabbage and shiitake batch, and it worked. Let me know in the comments below what method you use and which folds you've mastered. Thank you for learning along with me this week. Make sure you subscribe to Taste Buds because I'll be putting some of this practice to use next week.